How's it going, everyone? Just going to do a review of Pioneer's new DEH-X3600UI AM/FM CD player. Basically, just going to go over the unboxing and a couple of its features and kind of how this relates to the 3500 of last year. A couple things that I don't really care for on this one compared to last year. But then again, they fixed a few things too. So it's nice to see Android compatibility, which is nice. There's some quirks with the older ones, and there may be with this one too. I haven't dug into the Android part of it too much, but has auxiliary, MP3, does USB, iPod, iPhone, now Android. Has a mixed tracks feature, which is kind of cool. It's more gimmicky than anything, but it is kind of neat. It does come with a remote, which is nice. So let's get into unboxing this. Take a look at it. Okay, first thing you see when you open it up is the wire harness, and I swear these wires get smaller and smaller every year. I mean, it's not much to them. Not that you need much. It's only 14 watts by 4, so it's not too bad anyway. Remote, pretty basic. Volume up and down, tracks. These are actually pretty nice remotes. They haven't changed these forever, and they're pretty good. No complaints about that if you use that. Screws and the keys to remove the radio. Now, this is one of my big gripes on the new Pioneers. This might seem kind of stupid, but as an installer, these new keys drive me nuts. The old ones were way better. They're flimsy, they're really, really thin now, and they're very short, and they have these little, I can't really zoom in very good with this, but they just have these two little tiny notches, one on each one, to grab the edge of the radio. You can see them there. That's supposed to grab the radio so you can pull it out. The old ones were a lot longer, they were stiffer, they were thicker metal, and they had the hooks on the ends. Those worked a lot better. The good thing is the old keys actually work on the new radios, so I have a bunch of old sets and that's all I use. I don't even use these things. You try to put them in and pull it out, they just bend. And especially if you have a radio that's sunk in the dash a little bit, these are so short you can't, once you stick them all the way in, you don't have enough to grab onto because they're too far in the dash. I mean, that's probably not a concern for most people buying this radio, but it is for me. So, open this up, pull this out of here. I'm going to set the camera down maybe for a minute. Got it out of the box. Okay, one thing I do like about the new radio, before I get into too much here, is they used to put the stupid stickers on the front of this that said what the radio did. Well, that's fine, but when you peel them off, it leaves this like gummy, gooey glue left on the radio, and they've gotten rid of that, which is nice, and they put everything on a little tag over here. So the only other bad thing about this, you gotta take the face off to get it out, and the first time you take the face off on these, it's kind of a pain in the butt, but it's not a big deal. So nice glossy front. The only thing I'll say bad about the displays on these is they're very easy to scratch, and you do get a lot of glare. I mean, even just shining this up at the lights, you can see how bad it glares. It's kind of hard to see in the sunlight, but it does look pretty nice. USB door over here. This is also lit up this year, but just get a close up. It's a pretty decent looking radio. On the back, we have the antenna jack, the main power and speaker plug. This is a wired remote input. If you have steering wheel controls and you want to add that, you can add a module that will let you keep those. And we have two sets of pre-outs, which is nice, especially on a lower level radio like this. So you have a front, these are 2-volt pre-outs, and you have a rear or subwoofer. So you can switch that in the initial settings, and you can either run a full pass rear output or a low pass subwoofer output and have sub control, which is kind of nice. Chassis seems to be built built pretty well. They've definitely cheapened up a little bit in the last few years. Pioneer has. They don't feel as strong as they used to be, or heavy, but still really well built. It's a good radio. So I'm going to throw this in the board and go over a few things with it powered on. Okay, so I got the radio all installed in the board. It's now in demo mode, which is how all of the Pioneers will be when you first turn them on. They're stuck in demo mode. It's really easy to turn that off. You just go into the initial setup. It'll ask you if you want to set up when you first turn it on, and you just say yes, and that'll let you set the clock and turn demo mode off. So go over a few things. First off, something I don't like right off the bat, this mix tracks button. You can't even really see that. It says mix on the camera, but it does say mix on it. It is really bright, okay? Which wouldn't be a bad thing if you turn the dimmer function on this, but normally that is just a really bright light. It's almost kind of annoying. It's a little harder to tell on the camera, but it seems a lot brighter than the rest of the buttons. I do like how they added these little bars on the side that light up. It's kind of neat. The USB door is also lit up. And they've also added the preset buttons, the track button, display button. Instead of being an actual sticker, a printed logo or a printed design like this on the face, they make it appear as part of the display. It's really just some backlighting with holes basically cut, CNC'd or whatever, etched through the front of the face. So it's just backlit. It does look like it's part of the display, but it's not. But it's still kind of cool. The ring around the knob, they've also done almost like a bar with like an etched design in it. Makes it light up a lot more even. It looks pretty good. So go into a few settings, go into the radio. These are your initial settings. Set the clock, info, auxiliary. It does have a dimmer function like I mentioned, which is kind of nice, and the brightness. But the problem is, if you turn the brightness down, it's going to turn it down on everything, not just this button, so it's still brighter than everything else. And you can turn the demo off. So let's go into the actual radio here. Another gripe I have right off the bat here with this one compared to last year, when you go into the illumination and you go to the colors, last year you had like 33 colors plus scan and custom to pick from right off the bat, pre-made colors. This year all you have is white, red, amber, green, and blue, and then scan and custom. So you have just the real basic colors. If you went, like I said, to the last year, you had like 3 greens, 4 blues. There was all kinds of different colors. Made it really nice. Now if you want a custom color, you have to go into custom, and you have to hold this down, and then you can adjust the red, the green, and the blue in the color. You could do that last year too on the 3500, but this year you almost have to if you want to match anything even close to your dash color. Pontiacs in particular, they have that orangish red. Last year they had a color called orange red that matched perfect. This year you just have to go into red and then go to custom and kind of adjust the red to make it perfect. Not a huge deal. One thing I wish they would add is a custom setting for the display and key. So you can adjust the key color separately, the display color separately, or you can do both. But if you go into the both, you don't get a custom option. You have to do it separately for the keys and separately for the display, which is kind of a pain in the butt. But other than that, it's not too bad. One thing I will say that they fixed this year that I really like is when you go into the audio menu and you go to the EQ setting and you go to custom. Okay, last year when you would adjust these levels up and down, you'd get a really hard spike in the volume at like -3 and at like +2 or 3. You'd get almost a full volume blast just for a split second. It sounded terrible. It was definitely something wrong in the programming or something in the radio. So they fixed that. You don't get that this year. which is really nice. I don't love their EQ setting. It's fine for me, but most people when they go into this, they don't know what 80 Hertz is. They don't know what 250 Hertz is. It's kind of nice that they added this bar along the bottom. You can kind of see what you're doing. So basically it starts at bass, and it moves to mid-range, and then it moves to treble. So you can start all the way at the left, and that's bass. That's more of like a mid-bass, mid-range, and then trebles. So it's not too bad in that respect, I guess. But most people just want where it says bass, mid, treble. But for those people, you have the preset EQs, and there's quite a few of them, so that's kind of nice. Okay, so overall, for a basic head unit with just auxiliary input, USB input for iPod and stuff, AM, FM, CD, this is actually a really nice unit. I have a couple small gripes about it, but it's still a really nice radio. It looks really good. I really like the high gloss finish. The only thing I don't like about it is in the sun it does glare quite a bit. I wish they would do some sort of anti-glare, maybe over just where the screen is. But other than that, and this stupid mix tracks button that is just obnoxiously bright, it's a really nice radio. So I think you'd be really happy with it. The subwoofer setting's nice. I do like how it has a sub setting. You can go into audio, you can go into sub, you can turn it reverse, normal, or off. And let's see, if you go back out, whoops, you can go to the control. You can adjust the frequency. I wish it went straight to the level control because that's what most people are going to do. This is your level control right here. So it has +6 and I believe -24. Yep. That's how many dB gain or loss that you're going to get. And then it has the slope. So it has a -12 dB slope, 24 dB, and they used to have 6. I don't know if the 35 had that, but they did used to have a 6 dB slope, but 12 is fine for most people. So, and what do they have for frequencies this year? So, wow, all the way up to 200. So you have 50 Hertz, 63 Hertz, 80 Hertz, 100 Hertz, 125. I don't know why you'd want anything more than that. 160 and 200. I would say these are pretty pointless unless you're running like a mid-bass setup. But other than that, it's a really nice radio. Bass boost, do not turn it on. It's just a distortion machine. I don't even know why they put that in there. I do like how it has a high-pass filter. That's really nice. Any radio that has a subwoofer setting should have a high-pass filter as well to complement it. A lot of radios don't, but this one does. Fader and balance, and back to EQ. Loudness. Usually 3 stages of loud, low, mid, high, so that's nice. That's pretty much it. The illumination we went over, system, that's just where you set the clock and stuff again. Function, it does have a best station memory function, which is really nice if you go out of town and you don't know what the stations are. You just go to that, you select them. I usually put mine on FM2. You wait until it stops blinking, and what that does is it presets all of the strongest stations on your presets 1 through 6. So it automatically sets all the strong stations in the area to those presets, which is kind of nice. You don't have to try to scan through and find stations. So you do have 18 available presets on FM because there's 3 FM stations. So you have FM 1, 2, and 3, and then 6 presets on AM. Alright, so that's my review of the Pioneer DEH-X3600UI.